Okay folks, MBS here. Let's talk about transmission and diff oil, shall we? When is the last time you changed your transmission or differential oil? I would have a bit of a hunch and say probably never. Okay, it just doesn't get done these days. Unlike the old days, we used to change it at a ridiculous 20 to 40,000 kilometres, which is that's just crazy. I recommend nowadays, if you're going to change your tran and diff oil, that you do it every 100, at least 100,000, maybe 80 to 100,000. I would do it when I buy a second-hand car, because you don't know the history of the car. Change your trans and diff oils. All right. If you're doing a lot of Fording, like I'm going to do this four-wheel drive, this Hilux. When you do a lot of Fording, you check your diffs and tranny more often. Make sure there's no water ingress. If you're doing really heavy sort of work with the tranny and diff, you change your oil a little bit more often, yeah? So it's a very neglected oil. The trans and differentials, they seem to go a lifetime. No one ever changes them. But there are consequences, of course, if you don't change your oil, and that's wear and tear, and eventually failure of your gearbox. Usually the cluster gear or lay shaft gear hardening comes off. You start having trouble with synchros. Differentials start whining. That's basically because they're not being serviced. All right, so today I'm going to be doing this Hilux, and the reason we're doing it is because the car is second-hand. We're not sure of the history. After doing the brakes and everything, a lot of rust in there, so we figured let's just do this and have a look and see what's going on. The oils we're going to be using for this Hilux, I've narrowed it down to 2 oils because these are very, very expensive. There are actually 3 oils mentioned because the rear is a limited slip diff, so it takes an LSD oil, which is this one, and the transmission and transfer case will take this one, and we've bought 2 bottles of that, a little bit too much, and this is not quite enough to do 2 differentials because I'm going to use the same oil in the front diff. Yes, you can use an LSD oil in an open diff. It's no difference. So it just saves us about 60 bucks to buy a second bottle of an oil specifically for the front diff if you just want an open diff oil. So we're going to be using the LSD oil in the front as well. Quite okay. Now the differences in oils, there's a GL4, which is for your transmission, the 80W90. So they've got the same viscosity, 80W90, but with the GL5 oil for the differential, you have more extreme pressure additives added to it to protect the differential of the hypoid gears. So that's the basic difference. If you put a GL5 into a transmission that's not supposed to have GL5, you may have trouble changing gears, synchros won't work properly. So it's important that you get the correct oil for your vehicle, whatever it may be, okay? So this is what I've chosen for this Hilux. I really doubt I'm going to have enough oil to do both diffs, so I'm going to have to probably get another 1 litre container to do the front. So that's enough on that. Let's get down there, get dirty on the ground, and take these plugs out and start doing some draining. And one thing I should say is, do not drain the differential or transmission first. Undo the fill plug first, yeah? Because what if you drain it and then you find you can't get your fill plug out? Yeah, it'd be a bit of a shit there, wouldn't you? So undo the fill plug first. Make sure you can actually get the oil back in there once you drain it, all right? Makes common sense, yeah? All right, so let's get down there and get my back dirty and hands greasy, and we'll start draining stuff. Right-ho, here we are crawling around on the ground. A pit would be really, really handy for doing this. But if you're putting it up on car stands or a ramp, you can't fill the oil up until you get it back on level ground, yeah? So let's see if we can, yeah, cool. Now, I might just, now that I know I can get this out, I'm just going to put it back in because I've got to do a bit of digging around for the drain plug, because being a four-wheel drive, of course, I can't even get a socket onto this because it's full of crap in between the bolt or the plug and this body here, so I'm not going to be able to get a socket on it until I clean all this out. Over the years, I've discovered that these plugs, people have just been using open-enders, ring spanners, they've been slipping off, and they've been rounding the corners off. So when you put a 12-point socket on, you don't get them off, especially if they're really tight. So a single hex socket is very, very handy for undoing tight plugs, stuff like that. Oh, that was tight. And I'll tell you what, there was some shit around that plug. Digging it out with a screwdriver, wow. Oh yeah, nice and brown. Okay, you see the way that's coming out? And it'll come out a lot easier when the fill plug's out. Bye-bye. That's a beautiful colour, so we have made the right choice to change this oil. Pretty well drained now. I've cleaned all the crap off the magnet at the bottom here. There's a little bit in there, not too much. Nothing drastic that I would be concerned about. We'll put our drain back in. The next problem, getting the oil in. Well, okay, for the fun stuff, getting the oil out of that bottle and into the different transmission. Good fun if you haven't got the right gear, but let's put a few ideas together for you. All right, you can go to Bunnings, get some clear tubing, 1/2 inch, not this stuff, this is only small. So you get yourself some 1/2 inch, couple of metre length, you put it into the bottle and you suck on it until you get gravity coming out the tube, and then you place the bottle on top of something high, stick the tube into your differential and transmission and siphon it out of the bottle. And when it's full, you use a clamp like this or something, pinch off the hose to stop the flow and go to your next point where you've got to put some more oil in. That's one way. Another way is get yourself a squeeze bottle. You may even have enough room underneath your vehicle to get this bottle like that. Whoa, that's actually cracked. Anyway, you can actually fill this up with oil and squeeze the bottle and push it in like that, but it has to be sort of like that to get it in there. Or you can get yourself that 1/2 inch tube, drill a hole in the cap, make it a nice tight fit, put your tube down and squeeze the bottle and that'll force it out. But I'm going to go with the pump. Suck it out, push it in. Okay, that's an alternative. Huge syringe. Obviously you might not have that one, but that's why I'm going to do it rather than the gravity. I've used the gravity method several times before at home and it does work. As long as it's a good 1/2 inch, you'll get a decent sort of flow out of it. 3/8 hose, well, it's going to be slow, but it gets the job done, yeah? So I'll leave it up to your devices how you can figure out how to get it out of there and into there, and have fun with that, and we'll continue on. Okay, we are there. Oil just about coming out. Look, if it's actually coming out, you could still put your plug in. That's not over full technically. This one isn't coming out, but as soon as I put my finger in it and the pad of my finger comes out, I've got oil on it. So I am right, oh there it is, coming down. So that is your correct level. Okay, that's the rear done. I'm not going to bother with the front. The same as, same old, yeah. Take the fill plug out first, but on this car I have to take the bash plate off to get to it, and yeah, do exactly the same to the front that we did to the rear. And we've cleaned the vent while we were there. It was a bit clogged up, so now that it's breathing a little bit better. And that's that differential changed. Next we'll get on to the tranny. Okay, with the transmission, I don't feel I have to go through the procedure of draining and refilling for you. I think that's self-explanatory, but I will show you the plugs you need to undo. Drain is right here at the front. Your fill is actually this one right up here, not that one. Do not take that one out. This is your fill plug here. There's the drain plug, directly at the bottom of the transfer case, just above this plate, and your fill plug is right there. Okay, right next to the speedo cable. No point showing you the fill and drain procedure. We've done it on the Diff. Translate that to your transmission and your front diff, and that's exactly how you do it. Hey, that's actually not looking too bad for once. Transmission was a bit shitty, but the transfer case looks not too bad at all. But not much oil in it, and that's because we're throwing oil out of the output shaft of it all over the place. So it looks like we're going to be doing a rear seal. Now while my transfer is draining, I thought I'd better bring to your attention about these plugs that you're undoing. You must replace that washer, yeah? Fairly regularly, probably not every time if you can get away with it, but at least every second time you check your tranny, fill and diffs, you should replace that washer. Now I'm throwing up a couple of part numbers here for you. There are two different part numbers. There's a collapsible washer which is up now. That's basically your fill plugs, and then the other one is for your drain. Well, I'm using the drain for fill and draining, but my point is I injured myself doing this. Now it's been a week since I've been back to this car. I put my spanner up here and it was so tight, I mean so tight, that when it let go I hit my ankle, my wrist on something around here, and it just all swelled up. And that's because the washer's never been replaced. That washer is actually stuck on that plug. I'll have to chisel it off. Now my washers didn't turn up today like I was hoping, so I'm going to have to undo all the fills when the washers turn up and replace all those washers. You should really do that, otherwise you keep tightening and tightening and tightening. And that's another case for a single hex socket. If you've got a single hex socket, you won't wreck the plug. There is no chance I would have taken that plug out with a 12-point socket. I would have probably rounded it and stuffed it and end up chiseling it out. So yeah, change your washers, people. Pretty important. I suspect this is going to be quite clean because it's a front diff, and obviously not being used anywhere near as often as the rear, of course. And that is fairly clean, but that's okay, never mind. We've got the oil, we're going to put it in, and that plug, I could not get it out. I had to use a rattle gun, and I finally got it out. So at the end of the day, it was a good thing we did these oils, because the diff was trash, the transmission was so-so, transfer was okay, front diff is okay, because obviously if you're not using the front diff, the oil doesn't do anything, does it, unless you engage four-wheel drive. So that wasn't too bad either. So we've done all the oils now. I've got all the capacities that are going to show up here on the screen for you of this particular four-wheel drive. So your car may be different. Now on this front one, it had two collapsible washers on the plugs, the drain and fill, but you can still use those solid washers if you want. As I said, I couldn't undo this with a breaker bar, so I had to use a rattle gun to get the plug out. And once again, that's because the plug is just over tightened because the washer has been used over and over and over, and that's what happens. So unfortunately this video took a little longer, but it's probably worth it to know the information that I've given you. So you Toyota Hilux four-wheel drive owners, knock yourself out, check your trans and diffs a little bit more often, okay? Catch you in another video.